Thank you for the invitation to honor Earth Day with you. I appreciate all of the work that so many of you are doing on behalf of our planet, as well as future generations. To start, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes with me. And I invite you to start noticing your breath. Maybe start slowing it down and count to 3 on the inhalation and 3 on the exhalation. And then I'd like for you to come on a walk with me. Just picture yourself entering a forest, following a path that winds itself amongst the trees. Maybe you take notice of the sun coming in amongst the branches, or the wind rustling in the leaves. Imagine a little chipmunk or squirrel running about in the undergrowth, and some birds calling from overhead. And there's a little stream that you can hear the water running over the rocks. Maybe you pause to take a look upward to see the canopy of the trees overhead, taking in how they tower over you. Take a moment to appreciate the connection you share with them. Imagine on your next inhalation, you're breathing in the oxygen that they're giving off. And from your exhalation, they're taking in the carbon dioxide from you. And this exchange continues between you and the trees and the plants amongst your feet. And maybe you venture down to that stream and take off your shoes and dip your toes in the water. It's a little cold, but refreshing. Again, just taking a moment, draw in your surroundings, all the different sounds, all the beauties of nature. Imagine they're all giving you a hug. Maybe you return that embrace. As we exit the forest, I invite you to take a couple of more breaths. And just take in any renewed appreciation you might have for all the wild things around you. I invite you to open your eyes and join back here. I actually want to share a little story to start today. I grew up with the sound of peepers in my backyard every spring. I would listen to the tree frogs, and the American toads, and the green frogs. They would all join in chorus, and this would lull me to sleep at night. They were the annual harbinger of spring. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. Well, over the years, the songs of these spring peepers faded away. They're no longer within reach of my back door. I actually now have to drive a few miles to a wetland that hasn't been developed yet into a shopping plaza or a housing development, just to steal a few moments with the springtime music and my childhood memories. Now, if you remember, just a couple of weeks ago, we had temperatures that climbed into the 70s, and I was aching to hear those sounds. So one evening, I drove those few miles to a local wetland, and I was met with the most beautiful chorus. It was actually deafening in moments. And I found myself weeping with joy as I reconnected with nature's springtime music, as I was reminded of the connection that I feel with nature's musical gift and the beauty that surrounds us. And it's these kinds of connections that form the basis of relationships, the threads of life, that are formed between each other and our surroundings, and how we relate to each other, how we relate to our surroundings, how we relate to even ourselves, form the foundation of community and are indicative of its health and its sustainability. But as we all know, relationships can be tricky things, even tenuously positioned. They're reliant on how we choose to treat or mistreat them. If ignored, the relationship withers away, and the connection can break if not fed with care and love. Relationships can become spaces where anger, disrespect, and abuse are shared. They can flow one way with a giver and a taker, and only the taker benefiting until the giver is tapped and has nothing else to give. Or relationships can be reciprocal, with love and empathy and compassion and respect freely flowing back and forth. I'm curious how you would describe your relationship with yourself, with your partner. What is it like with your parents? What is your relationship like with Earth? Globally, there are spiritual references to the Earth as a parent or a caretaker, ranging from indigenous cultures to Buddhism to the Pope's encyclical Laudato Si. The imagery is typically one of a parent, most often a mother, who provides all that sustains and nurtures us, who supports the connections, the communities, the ecosystems. And these relationships are ones that have evolved as reciprocal relationships, with love and respect freely flowing back and forth, a give and take with Earth and all beings benefit. But over time, the human race, we in developed nations, have shifted this relationship to a giver-taker type, flowing one way from Earth to us, to humans. It's moved away from that reciprocity to a relationship in which we consume more than what is offered. I would even venture to say that we've shifted the relationship to an abusive one. We dig into the earth to extract oil and gas. We blow off mountaintops to mine coal. We manage our yards to nurture only that which we desire, what we find aesthetically pleasing. This is without regard to what will nurture the connections of the ecosystem and provide what will sustain and nurture Earth. We're now feeling the effects of the relationship shift. We're feeling the pain and suffering the Earth has been feeling. It's becoming our own. The decline in biodiversity due to human activity is giving rise to pandemics like the one we're currently experiencing. Our burning of fossil fuels is causing droughts, floods, extreme heat, fires, and our industrial practices are polluting our air and waterways. And all of these are impacting the health and well-being of our children, our farmers, our poor, our minorities, and even driving communities to migrate in search of new livelihoods. This year's Earth Day theme is Restore Our Earth. And I believe the first step is restoring our relationship with Earth, learning how to reconnect with nature. It's no small challenge, of course, but it's one that's imperative to ensure future generations can be sustained as we have. And it's an overwhelming responsibility. And it's hard to find a starting point. How do we do this? Where do we start? Well, first, I think we need to reflect on how we relate to ourselves. Do we practice self compassion and self respect and self empathy? What if we were to reconnect with ourselves? Would that self love extend to those around us, including Earth, allowing us to restore and nurture our relationships? Second, I invite you to reflect on the ways that you can reconnect with nature. Maybe take a real hike in the woods, observe the birds in your yard, maybe garden, take a quiet kayak trip on a lake. And third, think about how you can nurture nature and its interconnections in your own backyard. Maybe instead of applying pesticides, let the dandelions grow so that they can support the native pollinators. You can plant native flowers so they can play their key role in the ecosystem. You can also try to reduce your carbon emissions. You can enjoy a plant rich diet at least one day a week, drive a little less, plant some trees. They love the carbon dioxide. We can support policies that protect the environment, that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and that invest in renewable sources of energy. And policies that put Earth and the populations that are threatened the most by the climate crisis as a central focus. This call to action may seem trivial, but it's through these individual actions and a focus of reconnecting within ourselves and with each other, and with nature that will allow us to work toward restoring our Earth to create a better future for all beings. Now I invite you again, close your eyes, and imagine what your ideal world would look like. And think about, what will it take to get there? What role can you play? Thank you.